Raise your hand if you pose your clients during a lifestyle portrait session. By the end of this video, let's see how many of those hands are still raised. Before we get into all of this, I just want to make one thing very clear. I don't believe that every single pose in front of a camera sucks. In many cases, it makes a lot of sense based on the aesthetic that the photographer is going for, the genre in which it's photographed, and the overall objective of the images with respect to how they're going to be used within a marketing and promotional campaign. Fashion photography comes top of mind when we're talking about posing. It makes all the sense in the world based on the fact that the models are there to accentuate the clothing, not the other way around. So when a photographer bends a model into a pretzel and does all this weird crap in front of the camera, it actually makes a lot of sense based on the context of that image. What works well for one genre of photography could actually become a dumpster fire of biblical proportions for another, such as posing a service-based business owner during a lifestyle portrait session, for example. Here's why. The goal of service-based business owners is not just to sell their products and services. Their goal is to build long-term relationships with the communities in which they serve. With that in mind, the goal of their lifestyle portrait session is to be able to acquire photos that illustrate genuine aspects of their personality that's conveyed through their body language and their facial expression. Based on the emotional sentiment of the image, it will either repel certain people away because the personality doesn't quite feel like a fit based on what's coming off that image and how they're interpreting it, or it could go the other way and someone feels very, very deeply connected and they're attracted to the person based on that sentiment and that it resonates deeply with them and it inspires them to want to learn more about how you can help solve their problem. But when you pose a client in front of your camera, you are robbing their audience's opportunity to be able to qualify whether or not they want to come into their world and learn more about how they can get them past what's holding them back. Fold your hands like that. Maybe fold them like that. Do this with your arm. Maybe try the other way. Try something like this. I mean, when you do that kind of stuff, you're essentially being a puppet master pulling the strings on your client rather than your client actually reacting in a natural way. That could create a sense of being out of sorts for the person that's in front of the camera. What's the result of that? Your client will look at the portfolio of images. They'll see that they look wildly uncomfortable in most of them. They'll see poses of themselves that they've never really done in real life. They feel really bad about what they have and they're not going to use the photos. And that would suck, wouldn't it? On the other hand, if you just simply give your client free rein to be able to sit and plop themselves in a chair and just kind of slump over and do something weird and look like this and all of that, the photos are going to equally look as terrible. So that's not really a solution either. So what's the best play here? Aim for what I call contrived authenticity. What? Yes, I know. Contrived authenticity is an oxymoron, but it's an oxymoron with purpose, and it makes all the sense in the world within the context of lifestyle portraits. Let me explain it a little bit more through an example that I often deal with during my client sessions. I always include direct address portraits. And in many cases, I have the client sit at a table or a desk somewhere. Now, the first thing that usually happens is once the client sits down, I see this wiggling and dancing out of the corner of my eye while I'm moving my light around. And that dancing and wiggling is generally with their hands because they have absolutely no idea what the hell to do with their hands, so they get weird, right? Rather than telling them what to do with their hands, I help reframe the entire scenario from the beginning. So what I tell them is, think of this as if you're sitting across the table from another person, be it a client, a friend, whoever, doesn't matter. I want you to get your hands in a position that feels natural, as if you were in the middle of a conversation with them. Treat the camera as if it is that person. Get comfortable in that position and hold it. And that's pretty much it. After I get a couple of shots of them with that particular pose with different expressions on their face as well as different compositions, I will then ask them, well, What else would you do with your hands if you were in the middle of a conversation? Let's say it became a really deeply engaged part of the conversation where they're getting more vulnerable. Maybe you're leaning in a little bit more. Maybe you're going to lean on your hand. The point is, I'm not telling them what to do with their hands or their body. I'm simply putting them in a position based on setting the stage for them to react accordingly and naturally and genuinely. And once they get into those positions, I then optimize it, tweak it very minutely for the camera. It's not the other way around. They make the first move and then I go in and adjust and optimize as needed. While the entire scenario is contrived, I mean, it is a lifestyle portrait session, so it's obviously a staged scenario. There is a level of genuine authenticity within that, simply based on the fact that the client feels more comfortable and natural in front of the camera and delivers that expression, that body language to the camera, so that when they look back at these photos, they recognize who that person is looking right back at them. Contrived authenticity. I bet it makes sense to you now, doesn't it? By adopting this approach, that now sets you up and your clients up to create a wealth of genuine, high quality, compelling visual assets that they can leverage across every single touch point of their online presence. That's going to inspire them to want to talk really wonderfully about you to all of the people that they know that could benefit from your services. Not too bad, right? What are your thoughts on contrived authenticity? Sounds weird? Sounds interesting? Is it something that you might want to adopt within your own photography? Share your thoughts below in the comments section. If you found value in this post, then hit the subscribe button, because I got a lot more coming down the pike, my friends. Believe you me. Hit that like, hit that comment, hit that share, all those different things that YouTube creators ask for. I'm asking for you to do that for me. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you in advance. Well, folks, that's all I got for now. But in either case, I wish you well in life and in photos. And I'll catch you next time.